Hi everybody, Jason McMillan with Keep Calm and Train Your Rookie. Going to start off with our alternative fuel supplies for vehicles. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of the brand new propane fuel station that has been installed at my fire station. Just a quick background, my city is about 120,000 people, population. Spend a lot of fuel to maintain the infrastructure and do city business. So with a combination of grants and some investment, Fleet Services has converted a large number of vehicles over to using propane gas. Now this kind of makes sense financially. A little bit of investment in equipment saves them a lot of money in the long term. For example, at its worst, when we're all paying $4 a gallon for gasoline, propane was only 40 cents a gallon. Now that 40 cents per gallon cheaper cost does come with a 3% decrease in fuel economy, but obviously that's a significant difference. So it makes financial sense for some large organizations to make the change. So there is a fuel facility set up for propane on the far side of town from where I am. I'm here on the west side of town. Large piece of property here at the fire station. They have the ability to install this, and so let's take a quick tour of it. First thing I want you to see is here on the fire station itself, they have a dry chem and emergency shutoff. Panning out over here. There is the bulk fuel storage tank. If you come over here on the end, they have an emergency shutoff. If you pull that ring, it is attached to a spring-loaded shutoff valve here on the bottom. Different brand names for it. The common one's called a snappy jack. Liquid propane comes out of the tank, goes through this line, comes over here to this pump. Here we have a manual shut-off valve. Also have a section of flex line. There's a couple of different sections of flex line that are involved in this particular setup. And here we've got electrical that come in to run the pumps. Here is the pump, and it goes here to the dispensary. Here is one style nozzle. If you look in here, it has a quarter turn set of threads that are used to engage, lock it into place. However, if you look at the other side, it's a different assembly. Not quite sure how all this works. It's a different set of threads. So what that tells me is that we've got two different types of fills for the vehicles that the city has. And this really isn't germane to the conversation, but this is how you track and authorize fuel usage. Coming back to this side, we have another liquid return line here that goes back and runs up to the top of the tank. Now, the really fortunate thing was the day this was installed, I was working, and I had a conversation with one of the contractors that was installing it, and he's actually a volunteer firefighter from one of the neighboring counties, and I had a great conversation with him about it. And he was, obviously aware of what my concerns would be, as any other firefighter would have the concerns. So what about having a problem with an explosion? Well, everything is liquid in the lines. There's no air anywhere in the system, and therefore you can't have ignition, and therefore you can't have explosion. Of course, that is in a perfect world. And as we know in the fire service, nobody calls us when everything's going well and perfect. The biggest concern that they have is somebody not paying attention and striking the tank. So they have protected it with all the bollards. And also too, you can take a little bit of impact on the tank or the pump and not damage everything. That's one of the reasons why they have all these flex systems in it. Also, he did say that due to uneven heating and cooling of the steel, you're going to have some steel expanding and some contracting at the same time. Another reason that they have the flex systems in it. Another thing that a lot of folks might want to keep in mind is that when propane leaks and it's not on fire, propane is heavier than air, so it's going to want to stick together and sink and find a low area. This fire station's been here about 20 years, and they built a low-lying retention area to help serve drainage. So in this particular case, if we do have a leak and it's not on fire, the propane is actually going to collect and pool down here. Also notice that this white pipe over here this actually ties to the storm sewer system. So water comes into the retention area here, collects in pools. What can't be absorbed in the ground overflows out into this part. Something else to consider if you have a propane leak anywhere, not necessarily at a bulk fueling station, but at a house, at the local propane company where they have tanks 15, 20 times the size of this one. Remember, leaking propane is going to sink, and that includes finding its way into a storm sewer. All right, thanks for tuning in. Hope you folks enjoyed it. Please feel free to share, like, leave comments below.